You beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great, and welcome back to another Warframe video. Of course, we are going to be talking about Cyte-09. If you didn't know, he is the newest Warframe that was released with Warframe 99 update. If you guys didn't know, essentially he is a ghillie. That's right, a ghillie that hides in the in plain sight and just decides to snipe the enemies. However, he is quite the terrifying Warframe because at the end of the day, you don't know where you're getting shot from, but you just know that there's a sniper out there and you're just getting absolutely decimated, especially groups of you and your allies. He's a really fun Warframe to play and I really did enjoy him, so I've decided to go and spoil you guys today, and I've decided to then go and add more Forma. I have tried my utmost best to go and min-max his build without the use of helmet. I didn't want to use helmet because he's got one of those kits where the abilities themselves synergize so well with each other that actually substituting helmet, you're going to be damaging the frame. You're going to be causing more harm than actual good. Ladies and gentlemen, before I continue with the video any further, if you guys like to support me or the channel any further, do remember to leave a like on this video. It always helps me out substantially. Spartan click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams. Without further ado, let's get this video on the road, shall we? Alright, just like the previous video, we are going to quickly be skimming through Cyte-09's abilities. So starting off with his passive, weak point kills increase Cyte-09's weak point critical chance by 1% up to 300% for the duration of the current mission. Basically, all you want to do is just keep landing headshots and you'll be increasing your overall critical chance. Next up is his first ability called Seek, and plant an antenna that projects a forward wave scan, detecting enemies take increased weak point damage and become invisible through walls, visible through walls. Weapons gain punch through as well. So essentially, just like the ability does suggest, you essentially just go and plant down an antenna, which then gives you aimbot, which allows you to then go and not only does it allow you to have increased critical damage for your weapons, you are actually going to be able to see them through various surfaces and walls, kind of like aimbot, except this is legal. Next up is we do have our second ability called Resupply. Throw 2 elemental ammo packs that instantly refill the active weapons magazine while granting the weapon an additional instance of the selected elemental damage and status effect. Reload clears the effect. Sniper rifles gain extra damage. Holding the ability, you can then select the elemental damage type. So just like the description says, all you want to do is just going to be restocking up on your ammo. And if you guys decide to go and hold down number 2 ability, you can then decide on what type of elemental damage you'd like to then go and infuse your bullets with. And of course, because it's a sniper rifle, you're going to be having increase to your extra, or going to have more damage because it's a sniper rifle. Next up is we do have the third ability called Evade, and essentially this just allows you to go and turn invisible. As the description of this ability suggests, jump backwards and become invisible for a short duration, killing enemies on their weak points, extended duration, and heals of Cyte-09. This is basically your only way that you are going to survive if you guys are playing as Cyte. Evade just allows you to stay invisible, and then every time you can go and get headshot kills, you'll then not only extend the duration of your invisibility, you'll then also heal yourself at the same time. Because at the end of the day, if you can't be seen, then you should not be died, or you should not be killed. Well, that's just how the logic makes. If the enemy somehow just decide to hit you with an AoE weapon, then it's game over. Moving on to the final ability, or the signature build, called Neutralize. Summon the Neutralizer, Cyte-09's exalted sniper rifle. Bullets ricochet off weak points and seek out their nearby weak points. Alt fire lobs a cold grenade that completely freezes enemies. So this is just like every other exalted base weapon. You pull out a sniper rifle, which can be used simultaneously with the rest of his abilities, which also deal AoE, or should I say it does ricochet off of headshot kills, which you'll then be able to clear rooms of enemies relatively quickly. And of course, it does also have an alt fire, which is going to allow you to shoot a grenade, which will then go and cause a little bit of crowd control, which will allow you to then go and freeze the enemies at will. Now, before I continue off with the build itself, I do want to tell you guys that we are going to be rolling around with a whole bunch of Archon shots. So I highly recommend you guys take a look at the right hand side. As you guys can tell, we have a bunch of interesting colors. So as you guys can tell, we are rolling with 2 Tau Forged Amber Archon shards and then 3 Crimson shards, 2 of which are Tau Forged. Now, as for the build itself, when it comes to Cyte-09, as you guys can tell, we currently have 2 Forma invested onto this build. This is actually one of those rare occurrences, because if I find a Warframe that has so much modding capability, or I can see in the future that we're going to be dealing a lot of damage, I'm just going to start adding Forma, because I actually really enjoy playing as Cyte-09. You'll have so much an easy time when it comes to absolutely deleting enemies, and you'll never ever have to worry about dying whatsoever. So 2 Formas, for the life of me, I can't exactly remember what I did, but I think I may have just added 2 V polarities, and they're just the ones that give us more power strength. The mods are as follows. So for our aura, we are going to be adding a mod called Worthy I think it's Camaraderie. Basically, you'll be able to get more weak point critical chance by 75%, and this also occurs to your teammates as well. Next up is we are going to be adding prime continuity for more duration, because at the end of the day, we do want to have some sort of longevity when it comes to our invisibility, and of course the antenna itself. Next up is we are of course going to be adding auger reach for a little bit more range, just so that once again our antenna has a good amount of reach, and of course the same thing can be said when it comes to the neutralizer. Next up is, although I don't even actually think the neutralizer actually needs range, I think it's more for just the antenna itself. Next up is you can then go and add transient fortitude, auger secret, precision intensify, and blind range for more power strength. The more power strength you guys have, the more damage your neutralizer sniper rifle will deal. And of course we are going to be using streamline, because at the end of the day, just to go and add a little bit of more efficiency, because at the end of the day we don't want to get caught with our pants down, but because you're going to be killing so many enemies and you're going to be picking up so much more energy orbs per, thanks to the Archon shots, streamline will actually make your life so much easier. We're not going to add fleeting expertise, just because of the fact that we don't want to go and slash our duration down any further, because then you're just going to be making life so much more difficult for yourself. And for what? Just so that your shot doesn't consume that much energy? No. And finally, we are going to be adding prime flow to make sure that our energy economy is at its very best, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you have a large energy pool, because the amount of shots that you can use will be determined by how much energy you guys currently have. And if you are able to hold more energy, then you'll be able to go and have more shots in one singular instance. And finally, moving on to the arcanes department, is we are going to be rolling out arcane okay, I don't know how to pronounce some of these words, so I do apologize for this, but arcane crepuscular and arcane energize. You guys already know what energize does at this point, so I'm not going to really talk too much about it, but it just allows us to replenish our energy, because it's good for our energy economy. But of course we are going to be talking about arcane crepuscular. This is going to allow us to basically gain even more final critical damage multiplier and more strength if we are invisible. I currently have the rank 4 one, because I'm not as cool as the rest of these people, but if you guys want to know what its final stats is, here it is. On ranked 5, while invisible, gain 30% ability strength and 3 times final critical multiplier. So that's like a whole bunch of extra damage just for being invisible. So if you guys didn't know, the neutralizer is the name of Cyte-09 sniper rifle, and of course you can actually mod it individually, just like every other exalted based weapon we have these days. However, given the current recent update that we've had, now we can actually go and add arcanes to our exalted based weapons, which is a humongous game changer, because in the past I've always dreamt about something like this, but it's just never happened, and it's always nice to see new rules start to be implemented. And now that we're here, we're talking about arcanes, we are going to be using primary data, because as you guys can tell, we are going to be gaining so much more damage. If you guys want the exact mathematical equation, we're going to be gaining 360% extra damage, which will last for 24 seconds. All you have to do is just kill an enemy with a headshot 3 times, and then on top of all that, because we've got the rank 5 version, then we're going to be gaining an additional 30%. Next up is we are going to be using spectral serration, because at the end of the day, it's going to give us more damage while we're invisible, and it's much greater than regular serration. However, one thing I did notice is when I swapped spectral serration with regular serration in the simulacrum, for some strange reason, I don't know if this is a bug or if one is multiplicative and the other one's additive, but I did notice that regular serration does seem to be giving me more numbers when it comes to the simulacrum. I'm not too sure if that's the case. I don't know if that's like a bug or if I'm just not modding correctly. I doubt it. I really do doubt it. But Serration, for some reason, the regular version of Serration is giving me more damage. Even though this says 165 and this says 330, don't really worry about being invisible because we're always going to be invisible either ways. So we don't have to worry about it too much. But you have a choice between either Spectral Serration or regular Serration as your, initial mod. Next up is we are going to be adding point strength because we are dealing with crits. We want to make sure that we hit those juicy red crits. Next up is we're going to be adding our galvanized chamber for more multi-shot. Vital sense because we want to be dealing with big boy numbers at the end of the day. Same thing can be said with hammer shot. We want to see even more big boy numbers. And on top of that, we are going to be using galvanized scope to increase our critical chance even further, which will then go and land in our red crit territory. However, I have been criticized a lot because of the way I start to mod. So if you guys don't want to add galvanized scope, that's perfectly fine. You guys can just go and add even more damage if you'd like. But I like to see red crit numbers, and I feel like I'm doing a lot of damage because like the most I'm able to hit is like 20 million damage, 30 million damage, so on and so forth. But that's entirely up to you guys. You guys can just replace this with more base damage if you want, or more multi-shot. Whatever your guys' heart's desire is, I'm just trying to guide you guys on how I think you should be, modding. And of course, we are going to be adding our 2 elemental mods of choice. This can always vary depending on what kind of faction you're fighting. So I do want to mention that we are going to be taking full advantage of the companions buff. If you guys didn't know, there's a mod called Tenacious Bond, and as you guys can tell, with this mod you're going to be getting a 1.2 times final critical damage multiplier, which just means that it's even more damage to all of our weapons throughout, the whole board. Now, in order to use this mod fully, you just want to then go and equip a weapon that by default has a high critical chance. We went the Valkalok, and then we just went and added a mod called Point Strike, which will then put us at 87.5% additional critical chance, or in total. With that being said, let me show you guys exactly how this particular build does work. So first things first, make sure you do have a lot of energy. We're then going to spawn in our dummies. We're going to go and be a little bit creative today. We're going to be spawning in some of our Eximus units. So what we want to do is push our number 4 ability. We'll then be able to, pull the weapon out or summon the weapon. Therefore, we can just start sniping them with no problem whatsoever. Now, with that being said, you also do want to make sure that you are able to then go up to the enemy like so. Push your number 1 ability, which will then be the antenna, which will then allow you to see the enemy's heads through the walls. It's kind of like legal wall hacks, but, this is Warframe. It's not a PvP game, so it's not going to be too much of an issue. You then want to go and then select the appropriate mod, therefore you guys can deal a lot of damage, which was going to be corrosive, but we want to make sure that we do empty out gas damage. Doing so, we will then be able to utilize our corrosive rounds. Once that is the case, you then want to push your number 3. Now you guys are invisible and start zooming in and start getting those lovely headshots. Now I do want to mention to you guys is that in the beginning, the amount of damage that you are going to be dealing is not going to be that much, but that's only because you have to then go and build it. Ladies and gentlemen, I make some pretty awesome Warframe content, so if you guys like to go from 0 to hero as fast as possible, go ahead and take a look at the rest of my videos. There will be some links down in the description, and of course it will be suggested to you guys at the top right. I highly recommend you guys go ahead and take a look at those videos. Do remember to leave a like on this video. It always helps me out substantially. Spartan, click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos and streams. I make like a banana and split. See you guys in the next Warframe video, and have a lovely day.